Well, hello and welcome to the Bottom Line Me podcast, where we like to spend a little time talking about issues, challenges, new topics in the title insurance industry. Today we've got an interesting conversation that we're going to have, and I'm really excited to have a good friend and colleague with me to talk about morning routines. Jenny, hello.
Hi, Ann.
It's
always
so
great
good
to be with
have you. It's so good to have you. Well, Jenny's a senior vice president here at Old Republic National Title Insurance Company, and over the course of the many years that we've had an opportunity to work together, we have both spent numerous amounts of time struggling with how to craft and put together a morning routine that actually starts your day off in the right way, and also one that is sustainable. So Jenny, I know you're a big fan of a morning routine, and you found that it's really had an impact and an influence on how your day flows. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, and I have found, many years ago that setting the foundation and tone of your day is a really crucial part into how you get to choose to show up that day. It's a really empowering experience because it's allowing you to get in touch with yourself in the morning. And for people who like sports analogies like you, it allows you to get your head in the game.
Ah, I like that. That sounds fun. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about what yours is like.
Yeah, so about 8 or 10 years ago, I discovered this book called The Miracle Morning.
Oh, yes.
Allard owes me a lot of money for the royalties I should be making on how much I've promoted this book. But it really had a critical impact on my life. And he sets out some good daily habits in there that help you really make the most of your morning and then give you a center to come back to throughout the day.
Right. So what kinds of things does he recommend that you do when you start your day? And do you do them all, or do you do some of them? Or tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, good question. So yes, the activities that he suggests include exercising, reading at least 10 pages of a good book, having some silent time, whether that's meditating, prayer, just being silent.
That's hard.
Yeah. Affirmations, visualizing your day, and journaling.
Journaling. A lot of people do journaling, I think. And some people like to do it in the morning, some people like to do it in the evening. But the morning routine, really, I think you're right. It can have an effect on how your day goes and how it begins, and whether or not it's going to have a good outcome or a not so good outcome, So
for sure.
So while we talk about not so good, do you have times when maybe you, for whatever reason, your schedule doesn't allow it, or you just get sidetracked, or even just get a little bit, I think I'm bored with this right now? Do you find that ever happens? Because I know myself, when I develop a habit, I'm all in when I first begin. It's kind of like taking vitamins. Take them every day for a good amount of time, and then you miss one day, and all of a sudden now a month's gone by and you haven't taken a vitamin. Do you find that sort of same thing can happen with something like a morning routine habit or ritual?
Yeah, I call it the messy middle.
The messy middle.
We're all pumped up when we, as you say, when we get started with something new, and then as time goes on, we sort of find that maybe we don't have quite the energy for it as we did to begin with. Right. But I would say that there are a lot of things that intervene when you're creating these habits in your morning routine. So maybe you've got to catch an early flight, or maybe you're just so busy and all you can think about is I've got to get started on my work day. And so you skip a few. And, these things happen. So you just have to take it in stride and know that you can get back on the horse anytime you want. And also that sometimes different habits sort of ebb and flow. And so some are more effective at some points in your life, and some, maybe you phase out and you find something that better serves you.
Right. That's interesting. So do you have any tips on what to do if you do kind of fall off the horse or the wagon? How do you get back on it?
For one thing, I would look at what the practices were you were using each day, because maybe you've gotten bored with some of them, and maybe there's something else you could include that serves you better.
Even a morning routine has a shelf life. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, yes. As I mentioned, I started doing this probably 8 or 10 years ago, and so my practices have changed and evolved over time. You know, when he talks about the silence part, you know, meditating was something that was brand new to me, and so I had to explore a lot of different ways that made sense for me. So whether it was, you know, doing a guided meditation to get me started and really learning about it, and then evolving into just sitting in silence where I had time to really think, and whatever else I do.
You know, at this time of year, as we head into the holidays and the end of the year, and people have so many things that interrupt their normal routine, I would think that this is the time when probably it's most beneficial to stick to a morning routine, but that it probably is the most challenging time to do it. So I love your idea about picking one or two things, or deciding which ones were really effective for me, or which ones had the greatest impact, and perhaps not being able to do your full routine, but you know, paring it down a little bit, doing a mini routine maybe.
Yeah,
You know? So
absolutely. I think you pick the activities that you know have the biggest impact on you, and make sure you get at least one of those in, or do a shortened version of each of the things that you have on your list. One of the challenges I've constantly struggled with is feeling like, oh, I have to do all the things, and it becomes part of your to-do list instead of something that's actually taking care of you.
What an important point to make. I think that can often happen to people, is that now instead of it being something that is a benefit to you, it becomes one of those things that you know, it's a challenge for you, or all of a sudden you feel like it's another thing I just have to check off the list. So that's really interesting. That's my big takeaway from this, that it's I'm doing it for myself, and that the benefits are worth the time. It's not really a challenge.
Right.
Yeah, that's awesome. Any other thoughts on how somebody can develop one or stick to one?
So I say in developing one, I always like to refer back to James Clear and his Atomic Habits. You know, just pick something that you think would be helpful to you to start the day, and start small. Yeah. I love his example in the book when he says, if you decide you want to develop a workout routine going to the gym, start with just driving to the gym.
Oh my. That's it. You don't have to go in.
Yeah, just get there.
I always wished you only had to join the gym to get the benefits of the gym, but that's not the case.
So take bite-sized pieces and try to be consistent with it. One thing you turned me on to, Ann, was a habit tracker, and I really like that because you give yourself little endorphin kicks by checking off each day the fact that you actually accomplished this, and you started your day by basically winning and accomplishing something. So I think that really does set a good vibe for the rest of the day. I
do love that. I love being able to check things off on a little box. I think I've said in the past it's reminiscent of when my kids were small and they had the chores list on the refrigerator, and they get a gold star every time they accomplish something. There's something about just getting that silly star that is motivating to people. So sometimes, even for me, because thankfully I did adopt a lot of the suggestions that you just shared with us in the Miracle Morning book, and I love checking those things off. I find a couple of them, I find the visualization one really hard sometimes for myself, so I might skip over that. But I realize that it's not, for me, it probably isn't that important because it doesn't come easy for me. On the other hand, sometimes I do sit back and think, what would this look like? So I am visualizing without even realizing I'm doing it sometimes, you know, so yeah.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of times when things are new to us, we're resistant to doing that, but some of these things like visualization, I was the same way. I tried to skip that part because I was
Did you really?
I'm not going to visualize the day.
Yeah.
But Now I've come to a place where I think about, well, what's going to take place during my day? Who are the people I'm going to interact with? And how do I need to show up to get the tasks done that are before me and to interact with the people that I'm going to be meeting with?
Wonderful. That's wonderful. I really like that a lot. So as you know, we love the bottom line here. So you got to bottom line us on morning routines. What's the bottom line for us?
The bottom line on morning routines is that there are so many benefits, especially for your well-being. It really creates a sense of self-awareness. It sets you up for having mental clarity and focus for the day. It can bring you so much more productivity and efficiency, better decision making, and an overall sense of satisfaction in how your day is going.
Great. Well, that's a great bottom line. Well, we're just about out of time today, so I want to thank our audience today for joining us, and certainly I want to thank Jenny for spending some time with me today. It was really nice to start my morning routine with Jenny. So until next time, at Agency University, we always hope that you'll continue to learn, grow, and prosper. Thanks.